Hey everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn. I am so excited that we get to have a special presentation for Mental Health Awareness Month. Today we have speaker Michelle Voegtle. She's going to be here talking about strategies for navigating mental wellness in the digital age. So thank you for joining us. Thank you everyone online for joining us. Before we get started, I just have a couple of announcements. So first, I hope that you will all join us tomorrow night. We're having our monthly Tech Connect event. This one is going to be a special one though, because we're having a graduation party for our CompTIA Sec Plus spring cohort. And we're having not just light bites, we're going to have a dinner and of course drinks as always. So I hope that you come out for that. That's at 5:30, 5:30 to 7:30. Also in June, we have our big Beaufort Women in Tech meetup event. We are taking a cruise on the Salty Dog, and so I hope that you'll come out for that. That's going to be starting around 3 and running until 5:30. Again, that's on Saturday, June 8th. So really big event. Hope you're there for that. And then lastly, as you may have seen on our website, we have our May calendar available right now. There's still some events on there from now to the end of the month, so check that out. Our June one will be live soon, and you can go to beaufortdigital.com/events to register for all of the events that I mentioned and also see the new calendar when it drops. And without further ado, here's Michelle.
Thank you so much, Angela. Thank you. So as Angela mentioned, my name is Michelle Voegtle. I am a licensed professional counselor in the states of Connecticut and South Carolina. I'm just going to give you a snippet of my background to help you understand, like, how does a therapist get into tech, although it's becoming more common. But when I did, it was not common at all. So about 6 years ago, I was working in Connecticut for a large healthcare company. I was a therapist there, and I was overseeing an outpatient addiction program. And in part of my work there, I was also overseeing a federal grant that was looking for innovative ways that we could help people who were struggling with addiction. This was 2012 or 2019. 2019 when the opiate epidemic was hitting Connecticut hard, as it was many places. But it was hitting it very hard, and so we had this federal grant, and we were trying to figure out ways to intercept this, because this was a time when it wasn't just opiates, but we were starting to see fentanyl, xylazine, things like that. So people didn't really have a second shot. And so we were very focused on this. The grant that we got, we were particularly focused on technology, specifically technology and peer support, and how we could maybe bring those things together. At that same time, Trycycle Data Systems, which is the company that I work for, was doing the same thing. They were in technology, and they were trying to figure out how they could help. And so they built this, at the time, it was one module. It's many modules now, but it's called Tetherall. And they were trying to figure out how they could pilot that, and they were looking for a healthcare company. So we found each other, and we partnered up. I did that for 3 years. I actually took on a caseload to really dig in and see how it worked with clients. And I did that for 3 years. And I was just really taken aback. It was the first time in 25 years as a therapist I really saw something change in the field of behavioral health. So it hit me that hard. And I said to them, I will work for you. So I really wanted to be a part of this and this technology movement for the clients. You know, we really needed that so that less people were dying. And we also needed it for clinicians who were really doing their jobs with their hands tied behind their back. I mean, it's just, they don't have all the information that they need, the pace that it's moving, the volume. And so I really thought that technology could make a difference. And so after I did that for 3 years, I did come over with Trycycle Data Systems, and I've been with them for almost 3 years now. So today, so that's kind of how, this is Mental Wellness Month. It's also, the Beaufort Digital Corridor. And so that's how I came to be here, this intersection between mental wellness and tech. So today we're going to focus on the resilient self. We're going to talk a little bit about how technology impacts us and things that we need to look out for. But in the end, we're focused on the resilient self. So what we'll go over today is digital wellness, just to kind of get us all on the same page as to what does that mean. It's a term maybe you're familiar with, or maybe you haven't heard it before, but we'll talk about that. We're going to look at technology's double-edged sword. There's some great things about technology, and then like anything else, if we overdo it, we need to be aware of some red flags. And so we'll learn practical strategies for balancing that digital wellness. So when you think about just the term wellness, forget digital wellness or forget technology for a second. When you just hear the word wellness in your own life, what does that mean for you?
Balance.
Balance. Yeah.
Getting outside.
Comfort.
Getting outside.
Getting outside. Yeah, so probably ties into that balance and comfort. What was the other one?
Less screen time.
Less screen time. Yeah. And so, and technology is here to stay, right? I'm not in any way, shape, or form advocating that we don't use technology. It's here to stay. It does great things. It really helps us in our mental wellness in some ways, which we'll talk about, but we do have to find that balance. So this digital wellness is like anything else, right? So if we're talking about eating, right, and we want to be well, there's some, we can decide which foods we eat, which might, impact our body in a more healthy way. The volume that we eat might impact it in a certain way. Same thing with exercise. Exercise is great, but we can also overdo it, right? Or we might not have the best techniques, and maybe we need some help with that. So basically, it's looking at balance. So in the end, if we have digital wellness, we're going to experience less anxiety, less depression, better sleep. We're going to have improved personal relationships, and we'll be safe in those relationships. And then we also want to look at setting positive precedents for future generations, because we're actually the first ones who have experienced like the before and after, right? When we think about it, like my kids even experienced the before and after. This is the first time now where little kids, toddlers even like don't know life without technology. They have a screen in front of them. So but if we think about certainly my generation, I didn't have any practice to then teach my kids how to balance it because I didn't experience it. My parents didn't teach me, and I didn't have anybody teaching me. Like we didn't know. It was like kind of like the Wild West, right? And so now that's shifting and changing. We have learned a lot now, and we are beginning to have some best practices that we can share with folks so that people can stay healthy. So basically, in a nutshell, I don't know why that white box is there, but digital wellness is the practice of using technology in a way that promotes psychological well-being. So we're looking to increase the well-being and reduce the negative impacts of digital devices and online environments on our health. So, and really simply put, it's the practice of promoting psychological well-being in the digital age. So there's a couple key aspects. When we say digital wellness, like what does that even mean? All those things that you said, for sure. But there's a couple key aspects. So awareness. So we can't fix something if we're not aware that it's an issue, right? And it's very, very easy to kind of get sucked down a rabbit hole with technology. And so there are signs and symptoms. Like for myself, I can tell you that when I need a break, I actually push. I push. I start doing one more thing. I'm going to push. I'm going to do this. And I've learned when I hear myself say that, I literally get up and walk away because it's hard for me to stop it because I just want to do one more thing. And it's never going to be one more thing, right? And so I have to kind of override that. It doesn't feel good when I get up and walk away, honestly. But I know it's in my best interest and I have to do it. So it's something that I've learned. So we have to kind of learn our own symptoms, signs and symptoms too. Others around us who usually are good at telling us. We can learn from them. They can give us feedback. Balance, which was mentioned earlier. And so we're going to talk a little bit about how do we do that balance? Like, how can we set ourselves up for success in that balance? So I'll keep it there because we're going to talk about it. Boundaries, mindful use. So being really intentional with our use. If you think about televisions, right, which seems so like basic now, right? We have smart TVs, but they're so basic in technology, right? So it's not our TVs that like kind of negatively impact, well, they can negatively impact us, but it's like, what do we choose to watch on the TV, right? So what are some things that you can get brain rot from TV? Doesn't mean you watch it.
I think it's show binging. I mean, generally, there's a lot of really good shows that have like great stories and everything, but when you try to like shove it in all in one weekend, and it's very, very easy to do it. It's like really hard to snap out of it and start like living on in your life. Just watch the entire show in one sitting. I think this is like the worst thing probably in terms of brain rot.
Yeah, and that's what that's not like a technical term. It's just I'm just throwing it out there, brain rot. That's how I see it. But you know what? That didn't used to be a choice before. Like we couldn't do, like, it's almost like we didn't even have to worry about that. See, now we have to think about that. We have to be intentional about that. We have to be mindful about how we use technology in that way. But maybe there's a reason why we're doing a binge. And if we're intentional about it and we're setting ourselves up to do it and we say we're going to watch 2 or 3 or whatever it is, and right now I need to wallow in whatever it is I'm wallowing in, like, that's not necessarily terrible. I mean, it's okay as long as we have the boundaries around it, right? Now, if you find yourself saying, I'm only going to watch 2, and you keep saying that over and over again, there's your red flag, right? Danny, did you have something? Okay.
No, I'm bored.
Yeah. And how about something that might fill your brain up? And no judgment here either, too, because it's different for different people.
You mean in TV?
What is it?
On TV?
Yeah.
We used to brain rot. I felt like things like South Park. Silly, but just
Yeah.
brain rot,
Yeah. And right. And for one person, that's brain rot for me.
Yeah.
But for somebody else, it makes them laugh. Right. And it's like, and so that's a good thing, right? Maybe so we're mindfully making choices. So even though it's not like quality TV, maybe it might be a mindful choice that I'm choosing this on purpose because I want myself to laugh. Sometimes we use technology to numb out. We have to be cautious about that because generally speaking, we don't really want to numb out from life, even though we do. But we have to be mindful of that we're not zoning out in front of technology, so we're not feeling things, because ultimately it's going to come back. It'll circle around some way, and it will come out until you, like a little kid pulling on your shirt, until you address something. So, we want to allow ourselves to feel the feelings, but we also can, find that balance for ourselves. So we use technology so we're not so overwhelmed in the moment, but then we make sure we follow up and get the help that we need. Digital detox. So sometimes we just literally have to walk away. We'll talk a little bit about that. And then healthy connections. So digital wellness emphasizes, again, the importance of enhancing, not hindering, our mental health. And basically, we're taking back control. And I think that's important because, I don't know, when I hear about technology, a lot of times when I listen to people, I get this feeling that, like, not for people in tech, because, like, you generally see the value of tech and you see the positive upside of tech. But there are a lot of people that I get the sense of, they feel like it's just going to, like, take over. And then I go back to the television thing. I'm sure we felt that way at that time. I'm sure we felt that way in the Industrial Revolution when all the machines were coming and they were going to, they took over a lot of jobs. They did, right? Things shifted, they changed. So we just need to be really intentional. So I do want to talk, before we get into some of the strategies of what we can do on the healthy side of it, we need to be aware of kind of the darker side. So if I want to look at the impact of digital overuse. Right? So anxiety and depression surge. There absolutely is an overuse correlation. I know when my son was younger, he's like many boys, he liked to game, right? And like people do today too, but when he was younger, he gamed. And we always knew when he was on there too much. It was abundantly clear. His attitude, his whole attitude would change. And he's a nice kid. But he started to become not so nice. Really kind of edgy, kind of angry, unpleasant. And so we would have to help him understand boundaries. We would have to help him understand, you need to put that down for a little bit. You need to get outside, find the balance, right?
Why does that happen in the brain psychology part of it?
Mm-hmm. Well, think about it. You're sitting there, you're playing a game, right? And you're just, well, first of all, it matters the game you're playing.
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't a positive game. It wasn't sunshine and rainbows. It was negative stuff, right? And so we're seeing that over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? And just think, even when you get in kind of that trance, like it numbs you out, it dulls you, right? You're not interacting the same way. Like if I'm talking with you, I'm getting feedback. I'm getting some kind of feedback the feedback that you're getting through those games is not the same as a human. There's no break, there's no pause. And this happened to be like over and over again negative messaging, right?
That happen in your virtual meetings? Sorry, I don't want to derail you. Because I meet with people all the time, but it's not the same as being here for me personally.
So what's the question?
That could happen to you. Like, I'm in virtual meetings the whole day,
Yes.
but it still feels like you're disconnected.
Yeah.
I can hear and see.
Yeah.
That's it, but they're not here.
Yeah. Well, there's different feedback that you get from people when you're face to face, right? And the fact that you have to literally stay in one place and stare, I mean, it's not natural, right?
Yeah.
It's exhausting,
Exhausted.
which I think we all learned during COVID,
Yeah.
right? And then a lot of people went back to offices and then a lot of people stayed virtual, right? Now, there's a lot of upside to virtual, right? I don't have to commute, so I'm not as tired with that. I save money, whatever, right? There's a lot of upside to that. But the other side of it is that we cannot ignore is that we are working more. We're sitting in front of our screen. First of all, we're not moving. It's not natural. So we have to tell ourselves to get up and get breaks. What happens is, like anything when we add technology, right? We get efficient. What happens? We get more stuff, right? So they give us more stuff because we're not traveling to different meetings. But think about this. When we used to work in an office, I'll speak for myself. When I used to work in an office, so if I worked in one place, one office, I would likely have to walk down the hall to a meeting. I would have to walk down the hall to the bathroom. I still have to do that. But I have to, I would pass people in the hallway. We'd say hello. We'd get a little mental break, right? We look up, we look out. It's even just that, like our eyes so focused like this is different than when we have a change, when we're looking up or we're looking around and we're talking with somebody and we're getting some kind of feedback, something different than just the screen, right? We used to do that. And then if you worked in multiple offices, you might drive to a meeting. Maybe you listen to a podcast. Maybe you just have quiet time. You listen to music. You have control over what you're doing, as opposed to every bit like meeting after meeting after meeting, which is common for a lot of people. Just one after another, meeting after meeting after meeting. So that's enough to make anybody cranky. Your brain needs a break. It has to have a break. And I think it's important, where it's possible to advocate for that kind of stuff. I know for my company, before this company, we always had meetings were over at 10 of, if it was on the hour. And it was transition time because it's like human. So you can go to the bathroom and you're not having to make like a big scene, like I have to go to the bathroom, whatever. It's not all this drama. It's like, just like people have to go to the bathroom. 10 minutes. So we had a 10-minute break, whether it's go stare at the wall, talk to somebody, make a phone call, go to the bathroom, whatever you need to do was very helpful. And so I've brought that over, the company I'm now, like, can we stop at 10 of? Your brain needs that break. So there is definitely a correlation between when you're using overusing. So that in and of itself is a red flag for you. If you notice yourself, you keep saying, I'm so tired. If you notice yourself feeling anxious and it's not going away, and you didn't used to feel anxious, but now all of a sudden you're anxious all the time, or you're starting to feel down, like nothing you do is really making an impact, or like you just have that kind of depression. It could literally just be you need to step away from your technology. The other thing with anxiety and depression is constant comparison, instant response pressure, and distressing news exposure. So constant comparison, think about it. Where do you find comparisons on social media? Yeah. And like everybody can find comparisons, right? So I think about young girls. It's a big problem for young girls with looks and images and all the things that are filled with them. But even, but it spans the gamut, right? Because I look at my age and I'm close enough to people who are retiring or people who are at a certain level of their career and life where they're vacationing a lot and those kinds of things. It's very easy to kind of start to compare yourself. How come I'm not doing that? Am I not doing enough? And I think about it sometimes. I play a game so I don't get sucked down that hole. And I think, okay, pre-Facebook, I wouldn't know any of this. Yeah. And I would be gloriously happy with what I'm doing right now. I wouldn't feel like I'm missing anything. I wouldn't feel like I wouldn't be comparing myself. And so then I just kind of close that door, literally or figuratively. Sometimes I shut it down and I don't look at it anymore. And sometimes I just have that conversation in my head and I can let it go. Instant response pressure. You guys experience this? And he's like, yeah. Like I literally have to set boundaries with folks because they'll send a message. We use Slack, which is lovely, but it's also like, so you got email, you got your cell phone, you got your computer, you got your Slack, bang. So everything's like bang, 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 bang. And when it starts to do that, I feel myself twitch. I just go in and when I first used it, I didn't even know there was a pause. Terrible. And I thought, okay, this cannot work, or it's not working for me. I'm not doing this. Whoops. And I found the pause, so that was helpful. And sometimes even if I just put it on pause for half an hour, I might not use it for half an hour, but the fact that I tell myself I'm able to use it for half an hour, it makes me feel like I have some kind of control, right? So that is really helpful. But sometimes I have to tell people, they'll send me something, and I'll like instantly get back like, hello. And I'm like, I'm processing. So I will tell them that I'm processing, or I'm thinking about it, or I'm reviewing it, whatever it is. And I will circle back with you. And again, it gives me a little bit more control of like, let my brain relax, because then as soon as that comes up and they're like, hello, or whatever their version of that is, your brain kind of tightens up, and then it makes it that much harder. And now we're trying to do two things, because we were doing what we were doing, which is why we didn't respond. And now we're trying to do this. And then, there's no end to it. There's no end to it. Everybody's kind of looking at like, I need this now. And especially since there is a lot of remote work, we don't see what each other's doing. So whatever we're doing is most important. And we think you're like going to just give us what we need right now. And we kind of forget that everyone's working on lots of different things. And then distressing news exposure. So, there was a time where there wasn't actually 24-hour news. And now we have it in all different, versions 24/7. And so we have to, again, make decisions, right? Because I won't go down this rabbit hole, but like you'd be hard pressed to actually find news. It's not even like really news anymore. It's like that kind of entertainment kind of stuff. It's all about like getting you riled up. And so we just have to make a decision. What sources are we going to use? How much of it are we going to see? Sometimes I just shut it down. I figure somebody will tell me if it's that important. We have in my community where we live, we have an email system, and a lot of people with a lot of time, and they send emails out a lot. And there's some really great stuff on there, but it's like, it would be a full-time job. So I've just made the conscious decision that like, I cannot participate in that. And it's just the way it is. So I might miss out on some things, but in the grand scheme of things, my mental health is better. And that's the route I choose. And for other people, it's no big deal. They love it. They love to get all that stuff and be in the middle of it. Sleep quality takes a hit. So pre-bedtime screen usually disrupts our sleep. We get that blue light, and it stimulates us and it wakes us up. So we want to make sure that we're having some kind of wind down routine. I typically, before I go to bed, now I do watch TV, which is still technology. But I put down my phone so that I'm not doing both. My husband does both. I don't know how he does it. He goes to sleep. Works for him, right? Yeah, everybody's different. So it's not like there's one way to do it. But kind of best practices is that we start to put that technology down a half an hour to 2 hours before we go to bed, so we can start to wind down. And you'll have to figure out, what is that sweet spot for you. For me, it's to put the phone down first and then watch a calming TV show. I call it happy TV. Like my husband, if he's traveling, then it's really, really happy TV. And then it's like Disney Disney's not even like that, with a Hallmark or something. And then if I'm traveling, he's watching some kind of like, usually some kind of military shoot 'em up, something, whatever. And for whatever reason, works for him. But I would never be able to go to sleep with that. I would, if I watch that right before bed. So we have our happy medium where we kind of negotiate on what that happy TV is before bed. And then I usually read. So I'm still, my eyes are still working, but I'm starting to I start to branch down. So it's like deep, phone goes down, TV, book, and then meditation, where it's just truly quiet. Have a routine. Yeah. And actually, meditation is really important. I don't know if folks do that. but it's probably even more important now in this day of technology where we can allow our brain to kind of, it's almost like, think about being in a car, you slam on the brakes and everything in the back comes to the front. Like that's kind of our life. And like all of a sudden then we're like trying to go to bed. So to help your brain learn to be quiet when you need it to be quiet. Because so much is out of our control that we need to like step up and people need us to step up, that we also need to teach it like it's okay to be quiet now. Because what happens is we feel like something's wrong. As soon as something's quiet, we're like, what are we missing? What's wrong? And it can make us feel uneasy. And actually our brains need that. And so if you can, and I am a huge proponent of like, I don't believe there's any like one way, right way to do it. I think there's lots and lots of ways to do meditation. Some people can argue of what that is. Some people go, that's not meditation, that's mindfulness. None of it matters. Like, take care of your brain. Just be really kind to your brain and help it quiet down. So I use things like, and I'll talk about it, I have it listed later, Insight Timer. And there's a bazillion out there apps, right? But I like it because it's free. I like it because they have all different times on there where they can talk you through meditations, or you can just do your own. They have a timer. But you can do it as little as 1 minute. And if I'm really amped up and really feeling like I am so anxious, stressed out, that there's no way I can sit still, then I remember that means I have to do it. That means I need it. And I go, I don't want to do it. So I have this negotiation in my head and I go, okay, I'll do it, but I'm only doing a minute. And so I'll do a minute, and even a minute sometimes, even 3 breaths sometimes can shift my brain from being really locked in and rigid. And when it's locked in and rigid, it means, for me, it means I've had too much technology and it means I need to step away. And it can be a super quick shift and I can come back and I'll be much more productive.
What was the tool called?
Insight Timer, like insightful.
Can I add something to the sleep
Of course.
thing too? Something I've discovered is like, so at your phone, it emits these waves that disrupt your brain waves, right? And so they suggest like, oh, you should sleep with your phone like away from you.
Yeah.
I need it next to me because of the alarm. So I put it on airplane mode. I sleep so much better doing that.
Yeah.
I love it.
So
Yeah, I think you have
recommendation
to
for everyone.
figure out what works for you, 100%. So I too have heard like best practice is to have your phone in the other room.
Yeah.
I too do not. And I think a lot of people probably don't. One, from a safety standpoint, we used to have phones, like phones, in case you need an emergency, right? We don't like have phones anymore. We don't have landlines. Well, some people do, but a lot of people don't have landlines anymore. So, we want to have a phone nearby. So some people really don't feel safe unless their phone is nearby. So you have to weigh which one's more important, right? I think as long as it's not, if you have things turned off, that's a good start. And if you sleep with there, then that's fine.
Yeah.
And if you don't, well, then maybe you need to move it.
I dream so much.
Yeah.
I wasn't dreaming before.
Mm-hmm.
The rest.
Yeah.
I sleep every night.
Yeah. Diluted focus and frustration. So multitasking reduces attention span and concentration. I know our culture tells us to multitask, but like we don't do it well as humans. Like we're not meant to do it. and women are a little bit better at it than men. But none of us should be doing it. Yeah, it's not good for our brains to be pulling in those different directions. I mean, sometimes if it's a kind of a mindless task, there might be like you're listening to music while you're sweeping the floor or vacuuming or something like that. That's one thing. But when we start having those bings and bongs and we're supposed to be in a meeting and somebody's slacking us and we're right in the back, like there's no way we can possibly retain or really digest what was in that meeting like we would if we were just doing one thing at a time. But we've learned, because we don't give ourselves a break, it's almost like we crave doing those multiple tasks. Yeah, and younger people, like 20 something, like they will tell you, I prefer to be doing more than because they've never experienced like doing one thing at a time. And then, but what else do we see? Huge anxiety and depression in that age range, right? And because they don't know how to just be peaceful with themselves for a minute, because they're just so used to everything coming in, and they think that that's normal, and they think they're supposed to be able to do all that. And we do a disservice when we don't let them know, like, it's not natural. but that takes a while because, when you're at that age, it's not easy necessarily to set boundaries and stand up to, people that you're working for and stuff like that. That's a process.
So your brain gets addicted to that?
Heck yeah. Because you're getting a dopamine rush,
Totally.
right?
I cannot do
scores.
two
I
things at the
I
same
used to
time.
be a focuser, and I now find myself just walking away from something in the middle of it.
Mhm.
And like I didn't intend to walk away in the middle of it, but I will just switch to something else. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, and I never used to be that way.
Yeah.
I was gonna tell you because you put the pause. I can mute my notifications on Teams and all that because we use Teams.
Mhm.
I still find myself wanting to check.
Mhm.
I'm like, I'm doing a 30-minute task.
Mm-hmm.
My brain literally cannot sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Then I know I'm obviously overloaded with it.
Yeah.
And my brain at the end just feels like it's like split in 100 times.
Yeah.
So then you're mentally exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what do we say when somebody says, "How are you doing?" What does everybody say?
Overwhelmed.
Okay.
I don't feel it.
Yeah, we say okay or fine because maybe we are, but we're often lying. Yeah, we're often lying. But what a really common response is busy.
Oh, busy. Yeah.
Busy. So busy. So I would challenge you to go back and ask yourself, like, how much of that is really somebody putting something on your plate, or how much of it are you picking up, right? And I was thinking about it as I was driving here because I was having that like impulse to like, right? Because I'm trying to cram stuff this morning because I'm going to be here, so I don't have as much time, but my workload doesn't change, right? So I'm cramming it all in. So now I'm amped up because I've been on technology all morning. I'm writing to different people. And then, so I got my phone, it's over there, it's like calling my name. Calling my names. It's just like, what do I need to check? Nothing. I literally just left my office and they all know I'm coming here. Like, they can wait a minute. Like, I'm not like,
Hence, I have my laptop
Yeah.
from work here.
yeah. So, and some of that too feeds into our ego too. Because we start to feel good because we're looking to feel better. We're looking to connect, and we don't connect in the same way we used to. So we always kind of have this longing to try to connect, and then we try to do that through technology, which we can do to some extent. But what we end up doing sometimes is inadvertently overdoing it as we're looking for that connection. So, and the paradox of social media. So, we have this potential for connection. So this is interesting. Years ago, maybe 5, 10 years ago now, social media, you would hear a lot of people say social media is like, that's not real connection. Or people would do treatments online. That's not real. Or college online. That's not real. Like somehow it was less than, and it just wasn't perceived as real for a lot of people. Obviously for some that were ahead of the curve, they embraced it. Right. And now we see like it is real. It doesn't mean that we still need we still need real human interaction. We are pack, like pack animals. We are tribal. We need community, but we really can get connection through technology. And I think we saw that with COVID, and we've certainly seen that since. It can be literally a lifesaver. We use it a lot in my company now. We use it a lot in remote communities. For example, we do a lot of work with First Nations in Saskatchewan, and they don't have an option a lot of times for some in-person things that other communities do. So it can be a connector and a lifesaver. At the same time, if we overuse it and we can begin to isolate, and then we don't have that same emotional connection, and that can be a problem. So a couple different risks, and then we'll get to what can we do to kind of find the balance. So cyberbullying has an impact. Anonymity online can be a problem because we don't know who's saying some of the nasty things they're saying. That can be a problem. You think back to like phones were coming out when my kids were little. So they had a chance to, when they came home from school, they were home. They experienced that. Like I experienced that. When I came home from school, when I was a kid, I came home from school. We went outside, we played. And so if there was any kind of bully at school, I got a break. Just like we're talking about, I get a break from my eyes on the screen. If I'm working face to face, I need a break. Well, with bullying, it's pretty unpleasant if you're experiencing it, but at least you got a break. There's some kind of safety zone where you would be able to be removed from that environment, and you knew that you weren't going to be bullied. Whereas now it's 24/7, right? And then, because you don't know when it's coming. And so you have this sense you have to always check it. You have to be on top of it. You have to know what people are saying. So particularly, for that like middle school range and that, for kids, that's a big deal. It's bad enough as adults if that happens. You get a bad Yelp review or something, right? But as a kid, somebody could post whatever they want. They can say whatever they want, and it's out there, right? And so that can be a problem. Lure of the screen, if we're overusing it, can become addictive. So if it gets too extreme, people can begin to stop with their self-care and things like that. It's like any other thing that can be addictive. Social media and self-image. So we talked about this a little bit already, these idealized images that you're exposed to. And then it can weaken your quality of in-person interactions because you lose those social skills. Digital burnout is when it goes to the extreme, right? So it's the state of exhaustion from excessive digital engagement. So it's specifically you're feeling tired and burned out because of the use of technology. So the signs for that is you start to withdraw, you start to isolate. You don't feel like doing the things that you were doing before. You tell yourself it's because you're tired, but you're tired because of the technology. And then the fact that you don't do those social things that you used to do, you don't get recharged. So you might start to see decreased productivity. So you're either just finding yourself kind of, staring out, or the opposite. You're spinning in circles, but you can't really seem to get any traction. You're feeling just emotionally exhausted or fatigued. Nothing's really jazzing you anymore. You're just like things that you used to like. You're not doing it, and maybe you're having trouble with sleep, either oversleeping or undersleeping. Now, interestingly, social isolation technology can help, which is really important because loneliness, two interesting facts about loneliness. It's been estimated to shorten a person's lifespan by as many as 15 years. Loneliness is a big deal right now, particularly for young folks. And prolonged loneliness is equal to smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Can you define loneliness?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, what would you call it when you hear it? What do you think?
Well, I've heard that loneliness is when you're around people but you still feel isolated, as opposed to not having anyone that you're around.
Yeah, and of course you don't have to be around people to be lonely either. So the difference is I can be with a bunch of people and still feel like I'm not connected. I'm by myself. I just feel, I feel that sadness inside. I feel that emptiness inside. I don't feel like I'm connected and I can be in a room. I can also be by myself and not lonely, right? So I can be perfectly fulfilled and perfectly feeling great that I'm by myself and I feel good. I feel okay doing whatever I'm doing by myself. Maybe I'm going out to eat and I don't feel lonely by myself because I'm enjoying the food and I'm enjoying the service and I'm okay. I cannot feel lonely. So it's that emptiness that you feel, that it's that lack of connection where you're really longing to be connected, but you can't figure it out. Yeah. And so technology can help. So technology can hinder that. If we're talking about social media, like we talked about before, like on Facebook, and you're seeing all these people getting together and you're like, I feel really left out. So it can increase your loneliness, but at the same time, it can be a lifeline. So one of the products that we have connects people, well, many of them, but one product I'm thinking of in particular connects people with peer supports. And it's anonymous. So people don't have to worry about the stigma. They don't have to worry about, when they need to reach out, they reach out and they connect with another person that's from their similar background or community. They have ways to kind of like search for who they're looking for that have lived experience to whatever their lived experience is. So it finds a way to match them. And so when we can share how we're really feeling, I think when we can be honest, it helps with the loneliness, right? So humility is being able to be who you are and just be who you are, like in front of you, like, because we all kind of hide it a little bit because we have to, right? So in professional ways, we might look a certain way, or with certain family members, we might look a certain way. We all do that. But humility is like, generally speaking, you're able to be who you are. again, that's tough for a lot of young folks. They have to learn to get there. They have to figure that out. That's like our life's journey, right? To be okay and comfortable in our own skin and be who we are. And like, I'd love it if you like me, but you might not. That's okay. That's your prerogative, right? And being okay with that. And loneliness is when we just can't do that. We can't connect. We're so guarded. It can happen for a lot of reasons. It can happen because of just your situation and where you are. Literally, you're in a remote situation. You don't have access to a lot of people. It could be because of trauma, and you've learned to try to protect yourself, and that's in one way great, but in the other way it doesn't serve you because it blocks you from being able to connect to other people. So it's a double-edged sword. So basically, we've talked about the negative side of things, or like this comparison. It can become addictive, things like that. And then the upside is that we actually can build communities. We can talk to people all over the world now that we couldn't talk to before. So if I can't find someone that is, I feel is like me here, I can find it lots of places. And that can be a great thing. We can get all kinds of education that we couldn't get before, right? And so I call this mental health math. So basically, we're looking to decrease the negative effects and increase the positive effects. So if I get up in the morning and I'm feeling emotionally exhausted from the technology, and I can't, it's the morning. Like I'm already like, I can't do it. Like I don't want to pick up that phone. I don't want to get on my computer. If I'm feeling that way, right, it's like heavy. So it's down here. So I had to figure out, what do I put in with technology to like balance that out? So what is it and it might not even be technology. We might have to do a step before that. Maybe it's the meditation, maybe it's the walk, maybe it's the nature that I have to put in first, and then I can get to some technology. But if I'm routinely and consistently putting in positive technology, it tends to balance itself out. So if I'm doing those meditations that are helpful for me, I'm just using that one because it works for me. But there's lots. Gaming is your thing, right? And that's okay. And that's something that helps you feel more balanced. So you have to play with it yourself to figure out what it is. But if you're down here, it means something's missing. And we all have bad days, but it shouldn't be like days, right? So if you find yourself going to days, and most certainly if it's moving into weeks, something's off. And it doesn't mean that it necessarily is technology, but because technology is such the center of what we do today, it often is, we need to tweak it a little bit. So think about technology and how you've used it for your own well-being. I have a couple of examples up here, but how has it made your life better?
When I moved here, it was pretty lonely. It's really hard to build your life from the ground up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so staying in like group chats with my friends from back in Russia was kind of like a lifeline for a long time. I was supplementing my social life until I was able to build friends and like build a support system here. But also part of it is like at some point I realized that I'm playing to that instead of.
Such a good example.
Yeah. So it's kind of like also double-edged thing.
Yes, that's the perfect example of what we're talking about, right? So that was huge for you, because if you come here and you didn't have that, and maybe you didn't know how it worked around here yet, you didn't know how to get connected, because it takes a while. It takes a minute, so that helped you, give you the grounding that you probably needed to be able to go out and do those things. Otherwise, you probably would have felt really lonely. You would have to start to isolate. You wouldn't have had the energy to go out and do those things. So you connected with that group, and that group kind of gave you the energy, the confidence, whatever it was, to go out and do what you needed to do here. But you also were very mindful. I can't continue to you can still talk with them, but that can't be my primary,
So choose it over what's here.
Yeah, if I'm going to build a life here, I have to let go of that a little bit so that I can build that here. Otherwise, you become isolated, and then you start to build the story in your head of like, nothing here is great. I don't know anybody, like wherever that goes, it goes to a dark place.
It's like a hard place for younger people because we don't have a lot of nightlife in here, like cultural nightlife. Everything that is happening within like smaller communities, and so you have to be able to look out for those communities. And until I learned how this operates, that like in teaching myself that framework took
Mhm.
a long time.
Mhm.
Like you can move to a different country, you can learn the language, but it doesn't necessarily teach you how to conduct yourself in a community or in a society, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And those things are very important to also to connect. Because
Yeah.
you think you're saying one thing and people perceive you as a different thing.
Yeah. And just like on a sidebar, what you're touching on too is that it's really important to get out and have those human connections because they're a skill like anything else. And if we only rely on, our chat rooms and things like that, then we lose those skills. And then we start to get more anxious when we're around because we saw that with COVID too. People were super anxious when we all came out. Like, it was like, I haven't been around people that long. And like, they're like, so we had to like relearn those social skills. Yeah. I have a student right now. So I have interns where I work too. And our stuff is remote because they live in a remote community in Saskatchewan. And even the Zoom is like, so we have three layers, right? We have chats where nobody can see anybody. There's no nonverbals, any of that. Then we have Zoom where we're not in the same room, but I can at least see you. And then we have face to face. So theirs is all chat. So that's like a whole other language that they have to learn. So when we do Zooms even, they're so not accustomed to being around people that even that's like really hard for them. And they talk about how it's like really helpful for them to be learning their social skills because they just haven't had that experience. And privacy, right? So a lot of telehealth we have now can be great. Certainly not everything is appropriate for telehealth, but to have that as an option for certain things is really great. And it can provide people privacy where maybe they don't want somebody to see them going into whatever office that is, that it's maybe something that they feel shameful about. And so it helps them get the help, whereas before they might not go to get the help. So that can be a really great thing. Lower cost, obviously. If we don't have to travel, that can impact us that way. And so there's a lot of great upsides. Other benefits, brain recharge. I think we've talked about sleep, enhanced focus. So we want to set limits. We've talked about that. Designate tech-free zones. I know when we were raising our kids, the dinner table was off limits for phones. They had to go away. So you may have your own kind of tech-free zones. It could be the bedroom. For some people it is. For some people, they need that phone next to them. And making sure that you set your nighttime routine. So basically, we want to look for, here are kind of the red flags if there's too much technology. Changes in your mood, changes in your physical health, like you've stopped taking care of yourself, like you stopped exercising as much, or you stopped taking care of your hygiene. You're having problems processing information and problem solving. Our brains can get overloaded and they need a break. And they have a hard time processing. Sleep problems we talked about, lack of social interaction and social skills. So if we're isolating, and if we are isolating, we're likely not going to call ourselves out on that. Usually somebody else will notice it because it's a kind of a trap that you get into. When you're in that place where you want to isolate, you may long to be with others, but it tricks you into feeling safe. But then you get isolated and you get lonely and it makes it worse. So often other people will see that before we do. So we're going to set boundaries. We're going to limit our screen time, practice mindfulness, engage offline. So making sure that you have hobbies or anything, but technology, that could be any number of things. It could be walking, a lot of stuff in nature, could be crafts, could be exercise. Tech-free zones, bedtime, we talked about. Prioritize real-world connections, so making sure that you are mindful of if you're spending time face-to-face with people. Practice those digital detox and seek help if needed. Couple apps that I put on here just to share. MyFitnessPal, and you probably know of a bazillion fitness ones, but even it just comes with your phone. It tells you your steps and things like that. That can be really enlightening. I was at a workshop. It was on technology. It was actually, it was for my license, so it had to do with mental health. But it was on technology, and they were talking about how often you're on technology. And I was like, other than work, right? I'm like, I don't do apps or anything like that. I don't consider myself like a techie. I'm not like that. Like, it's just, I mean, I work for a tech company, but I'm like, I don't do online stuff, right? So the guy next to me, he says the same thing. He goes, me neither. He goes, I don't really do that either. And then they had us check it. No joke, guy next to me, 20 minutes. So he's the real deal. He really does not get on there. Mine was 4 hours. I really thought it was like a half an hour, and it was 4 hours. And it's probably more than that now, because like the reality of it is I am on there all the time because of my work, not just on the computer, but I'm always looking something up. I'm like, what is that word? When I look it up, or I wonder how that connects with this, right? I'm super curious, and I go down these like holes, right? And that's a great thing. But at the same time, like that was eye-opening to me. I was like, really? No wonder I'm tired. I had no idea. That's like saying like, oh, I don't really exercise, and like you did 5 miles and didn't realize it. Like, but it sneaks up on you like that, right? This is like sneaky different than other things. Yeah. So yeah, they've got fitness stuff to help you stay healthy. They can tell you you're not drinking enough water, all that good stuff. Insight timers, one I told you about, they have free meditation and mindfulness practice. Happy Not Perfect, love it, free, or at least it was free last time I used it. I haven't used it in a little bit, but they do mood tracking and mindfulness, and they do things like, I think Calm does, not Calm, there's another one. It doesn't matter. They have like a balloon that blows up, and it's like, so you have something to kind of look at, and it comes down. You're supposed to keep up with it. Like it helps you slow down. And they have little mazes that you can trace with your finger, mindfulness, stuff like that. So, they've got a lot of good stuff that's out there. And then in closing, fostering digital wellness through mindful technology creates empowerment, enhances our resilience in the digital age. And that's what it's all about. And that's what I got.
Wow.
Any questions?
Open up for questions, guys.
You heard the expression digital clutter?
Digital clutter?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, there's like this concept that, in a similar way that like we can have mess in our home, we can have a mess in our digital space.
Yeah.
And apparently, like this, sometimes like your desktop is overrun with like
Yes.
and apparently you're supposed to spend time, dedicate time to like
Oh, that's
cleaning and organizing that.
That's a really, really good point. Yes, 100%. 100%. We should take time for that. And again, nobody's going to give you time for that. So you have to take it, right? You have to build it in. One of the things I learned long ago in scheduling, and this was before we even had schedules on computers, and I live by my calendar now, but in a good way, because if something comes up and they say, oh, can you follow up with me next week? Just give me a call and we'll talk about whatever. But it's not like any big deal. Let's just touch base, right? All that little stuff adds up. And I'll get to exactly the clutter in a second. So anything that I'm going to do goes on my calendar. And if my calendar gets filled up, it means I'm filled up, right? Now, some folks that I work with will just put the meetings, right? And they'll go, you seem really busy. I'm like, because I am. So are you. Yeah. But like, I'm like, that's how I keep me from getting overloaded. Like all of that takes time. So, and that's all mental energy too. We're trying to remember, we got to do that. All that. So the same thing with files too. And it's a really good point that you make. Just like if you had files on your desk or files in your drawer, we have files there, and we should sweep it. So whatever that is for you, maybe you do it once a month so it doesn't become this big thing, or maybe it's once a year, right? So I'll tend to keep things for a little bit, and then and you go back and you look at it and you're like, wow, has this changed? I don't need any of this stuff anymore, or it goes in a different place. I might need to rearrange how I have things organized because I didn't have enough information when we first started the project, so I kept everything. And now that I know how it's going a little bit, I can rearrange stuff, and that all of that takes mental energy if we're trying to like piece things together and it's not really streamlined. So we have to spend time like going back and looking at that. So I tend to be somebody who does it a little more on a routine basis. Like what I'll do is, I'm not advocating for this, but this is what I do that works for me. I put everything on my desktop, which like techie people hate that. So I put it there for like the first month until I know where it's going to go, because I don't know where it goes. And you're going to ask me for it, and I will have no idea what file it's in because I didn't know, I didn't have enough information. So I have files on there, what I think they're going to be, and then I can't stand the mess. And so I'll get rid of it, like a month will go by, and then okay, time to clean up. Let's put it where it really belongs. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you have any, like, right now I'm trying to redefine the way that I work. I'm a project manager,
Mm-hmm.
and I can be on meetings like the whole day.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that I'm working or getting any efficient work done, in my opinion. So like I'm literally telling my team like we don't have to meet, but I do have some sort of reporting that I have to do. I have to know where the project's at. But I don't know. I think there's a sense of like if you're not meeting, you're not being efficient.
Yeah.
I don't really know what I'm asking.
I think forms, is there a form you could make that just like send it to a team and say, okay, touch base with me, fill this out, let you know where it's at.
Maybe. Well, we have ADO. We have trackers for like development because I work in technology, developing technology.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just curious, like how you manage your day or like strategies to just manage your team. I literally was telling my director like maybe we should just have a week with no meetings and see how effective we are. Like what are we always meeting about?
Yeah. Yeah. When do you do the work?
When do you do the behind the scenes work?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea. Did you say that? What was their response? Yeah.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, for sure. I think
Yeah.
it's a calendar cleanse that you can do.
Yeah.
Like the same you were saying, you just go through your calendar, like what's the purpose of this meeting? Do we really need it? Do we need to meet, or this is just something you can do in the back end?
Yeah.
Calendar cleanse.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and all just kind of basic organizational skills too, like making sure everything has an agenda, make sure, people come prepared. They know what they're going to talk. But they're not processing in the meeting. You know what I mean? They come and I am super efficient. I just don't have really a lot of tolerance for like just.
Let's just chat about
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not much of a small talker when it comes to those kinds of things. So usually, if I'm the one leading the meeting, it's just like people just know that about me. It's like let's just get down to business. Here are the bullets. Here's what we need to do. And then I try to get it done faster if possible. I mean, if not, we use the time. But if we can get it done, like if I do project reviews, they'll start at an hour, but pretty quickly they'll be down to half an hour. And then everybody kind of knows what they need to bring and their updates. And we have a template that we use, a format that we use, kind of keeps us on track. Yeah.
Also, know there's AI tools that help with endless meetings. I know that there are.
What is it? iTunes?
There's AI that's like does like a transcription of your meeting, and then it just gives you bullet points of what did you discuss in there.
Yeah.
Sometimes that can be helpful when you need to like revisit something.
Yeah, we're using
an endless chain of meetings.
Yeah, Copilot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. And I will cancel meetings too if we don't have good reason to.
I have been canceling
Yeah.
a lot of meetings. Like, you're blocked. Let me know.
Yeah. Yeah, and the beautiful thing is, you already had it on your calendar, so now you just got that, that hour back. And usually, and then sometimes there might be 2 or 3 scheduled at the same. What I'll do is, if it's not like I'm telling you, if I have a task to do, but I'll put it like, if I have 3 tasks to do and they're really quick things to do, I might put them at the same time. Like it's a half an hour slot, but they're at the same time. And then that way I don't have to remember it. And there's lots of ways people do it. Literally, you can write on a sticky note if you want to, but I just keep everything in one place. And then if it's not realistic for me to do that day, that's okay. I can move it, but I don't have to try to remember it. It's there and I've allotted my time, and I usually have something else I can work on.
Okay, we have reached the end of our presentation time. So again, I want to thank you everyone for joining us. I also want to give a huge shout out to Trycycle Data Systems for sponsoring this Lunch and Learn. And thanks to Michelle for speaking today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.